What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, bringing you another knife review slash overview. This is a Microtech Troodon, or however you want to pronounce it. This is the smaller version. There's a Combat Troodon, which is much larger, both in handle and blade. This is the little guy. This particular model is from 2010, Troodon DE, and you can see there on the blade tang, this is in S30V, which is not something that Microtech does anymore, or at least I don't believe. This knife was offered up to the channel for review by my friend David. David has actually offered up a bunch of different knives for review on this channel, so I appreciate that. And it's also that super really cool knife that's coming that I just can't wait for. That's also David's, so I just wanted to make sure and give him credit. So I really appreciate that. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on here with the size comparison. The Troodon is not a big knife. This is a very EDC friendly knife. I'm not going to measure it from the glass breaker. I'm going to measure it from the actual butt of a knife. So the Manix 2, of course, comes in at 8 inches overall. The Troodon is, I think it's like 7.7. It's some odd 7.68 or something like that. But I think we'll call it 7 3/4 is essentially what we're looking at there. So, little knife, weighs under 3 ounces. It's like 2.8 ounces. So, for an OTF automatic, which is what this is a little knife. And if you watched my video on the Lightning, you know, I've owned the larger guy. I've owned the Combat Troodon. Really cool, really expensive. It was $400 back then. It's like $450 or $475 now. This guy in 2010 was probably somewhere between $275 and $300, and they're $350 now. Really expensive. The Lightning, of course, is a Chinese knockoff that seems to be better quality than a lot of other Chinese knockoff switchblades, which there are so many out there, and most of them are garbage. But you know, the Lightning's a cheap one, and the Microtechs tend to be on the top of everybody's list in terms of a reliable OTF. This is a much more EDC friendly size, definitely. Now, getting back to what I was trying to say, you watch that video, you know my opinions on OTFs. They do have their advantages, and they have their obvious disadvantages. To me, OTFs, in terms of obvious disadvantages, being number one, they're just super aggressive looking. It doesn't really matter where you live. I mean, yeah, you know, your knife buddies aren't really going to bat an eye at this, but most people are going to be like, oh my god, those are illegal. Especially ones with that are double-sided. Like, if a non-knife person was asked to think up what they consider to be the most illegal or the scariest type of pocket knife somebody could carry, or draw a picture of it, they'd probably draw this almost exactly. A dagger style small pocket knife that fires directly out the front with a switch. So whether or not they're legal in your area, whether or not people are desensitized to stuff like this, well, most people are not going to be desensitized to stuff like this. Most people are going to be scared by it. So that's an obvious disadvantage to me. The other disadvantage to OTFs, you can definitely get gunk in there. And while the Microtech seem to be incredibly resilient, I've never actually handled a Microtech that failed. But obviously, if I dumped sand in there, it probably would have a hard time deploying. Now, that may not be a part of your everyday carry schedule or everyday use schedule, or set of tasks, or something it could be involved with, but over time it's a possibility. This one from 2010 looks to have hardly been used, and that's what David told me, so it fired out just fine. Needed a little bit of lubricant right here. This actuator switch was really hard to pull down before, but I added just a little bit, and it works just fine now. It does fire hard and reliably. As with all OTFs, there's a little bit of side to side and up and down play, but that's to be expected. There might be one on the market now that doesn't have that, but I would imagine, if you really tried, you'd still get a little bit of wiggle. I mean, just the nature of how these things are put together on the inside, I think that's just to be expected. If you buy this knife and it comes with a little bit, I know this is pretty much common knowledge now, but don't be, don't think that there's anything wrong with it just because it's got just a little bit of wiggle. That's pretty common. Aside from that, though, there's actually a lot of functionally advantageous things to say about an OTF. If your job is, if you're working around a bunch of people who don't really care what type of knife you're carrying, and maybe you're working outside, and you need a knife that is very convenient in terms of one-hand operation, a lot of things could be said in positive light for an OTF. And I had a commenter on the Lightning OTF video, it made me think. They said Blade HQ disagrees with you a lot in terms of whether or not an OTF is a good idea for EDC and whether or not it's functionally advantageous. And my Lightning OTF video, I said a lot of negative things, and it all boiled down to OTFs being more novelty than functional to me. And after I read that comment, I went and watched Blade HQ's video again. I was aware of it, and then I thought, and I was like, you know what? They do make a lot of really good points. So I can't remember your name, whoever commented, but I'm glad that you did, because now I'm kind of leaning backwards, and I do love Microtechs. They make incredible knives. They make very reliable knives, and yeah, they're expensive, but man, for something that's built like this, you couldn't ask for a better build quality. We'll go into that a little bit more. I want to talk about the difference between this and the ones that are offered right now. These are still using the proprietary 3-hole screw system, which a lot of people don't like. The new ones have the tri-way ones, which is still a proprietary thing with Microtech, but to me, it doesn't really matter. Do you really want to take this thing apart? I mean, if it were me, no, I wouldn't want to take it apart. If it got so dirty that it didn't operate, then I don't know. I mean, I suppose I would send it back to Microtech before anything else. But me personally, I'm never gonna. If this were mine, I would never use it in a situation where I risked gunking it up so much that it wouldn't function. And even still, I think you'd be hard pressed to get it like that naturally, under natural use. I couldn't imagine a lot of people are digging around in mud and pushing this thing into mud while it's in the closed position, but I don't know. Everybody uses knives for different things. They still come in this blade configuration. Then of course you can get, I think you can still get full serrated on both sides, or just plain edge on both sides. This of course is sharpened on both sides. It's a true dagger grind, and then it's got serrations on both sides. And then it has a glass breaker on the back, and we'll talk about that too. So this was interesting to me. I'd never held the smaller Troodon, and I assumed that it was almost exactly the same size as the Ultratech. This guy's actually shorter than the Ultratech. And once I figured that out, I realized, oh, of course, why would they make it exactly the same size as the Ultratech? Then you just have essentially another Ultratech. The Ultratech comes in a ton of different configurations. By the way, this still comes in an enormous amount of other configurations. And now I think they're using M390 blade steel on these. But you can get green, red, whatever handles color you want. They get them to a lot of different stuff. Two-tone blades, different grinds, things like that. But the Ultratech comes in even more configurations in terms of the handle, and they've got like special Star Wars edition ones, and then blah blah blah. You can look at all that stuff on the retail of your choice. Yeah, this guy's a little smaller. I want to say the Ultratech is closer to 8 inches, or maybe a little over 8 inches. It's probably more the size of the Mannix, but this is a smaller guy. So I mean, if you want an OTF and you're looking for a light, sub 3 ounce reliable OTF, the Troodon I think is a great choice. I really like the traction points right here. I mean, this offers functional, reliable traction on an aluminum frame. It looks good all the way around. It looks very professional. I love the Actuator Switch on these. They're easy to manipulate. These are not going to deploy in your pocket. I hear that argument all the time, and I hear it brought up on YouTube videos, and all these guys say the same thing. It's not going to deploy in your pocket. The circumstances required while this is in your pocket for that switch to get pushed down hard enough for it to deploy, it's just not going to happen. And even if it does, these are on a safety. They derail, so the blade's not going to just fire into your leg. That's the kind of stuff that you see in movies. That's not what happens with these types of knives. So anyways, I really enjoy the traction on these. The ergonomics, you know, this isn't going to be the type of knife that you're going to be like hammer grip hard cutting with. This is going to be a take it out, use it real quick, and put it away. It's more of a convenience thing. So ergonomics for that, I think, are great. A lot of people are like, man, why would you get such a weapony style blade? Why would it need to have two edges? Well, yeah, it is a very aggressive grind, but I'm going to point this out, and I'm not the only one who's pointing this out. The advantage of having a blade on each side is the ability to continuously use one side of it and then keep the other side sharp. Whereas, and so, you know, I mean, in theory, your edge retention is exactly double whatever is advertised with that particular blade steel, because as soon as this side becomes unusable or less usable or whatever, you can just use the other side. And I think that's pretty cool. In terms of utility, I think that's great to have two sharpened sides. So if it were me, and I had the option on an OTF, I would absolutely always get double edge. I just would. It's one of the only knife styles that you can get with a double edge and have it safely deploy. With the exception of the Maximus dagger from Hinder and a few others, you really don't have that option with a side opening knife, because closing it back up requires some contact between your finger and the blade to push it back into that position, unless they have like a whip. I don't know. It would just be really dangerous with a side opener. So that's just, it's an advantage of having a knife like this. The one thing I'm going to say that I don't like about this, and I imagine you know it's coming, is the glass breaker. I don't need that. I can understand why on this knife and the idea behind it, that the people who are looking for this might want a glass breaker, but this is just mega overkill. And I know they're different now. I know they look different. This is so pointy and so weapony and unnecessary to me. And not only that, but when I put a knife into my pocket, I don't want to use two hands, right? I want to push it in with one hand. And oftentimes how I do that is I grip here and I brace my palm against the butt of the knife here, and I push it into my pants. And you know, right now, whatever you're carrying, check and see how you do that. When you put your knife in your pants, I imagine you're like me. You want to be able to do it with one hand and you want to push it in. But I push it in here, pinch right here, and push, bracing the butt of the knife against my palm. On this knife, it's harder to do because that super pointy thing presses into my palm here, and that drives me crazy. I have to adjust my hand to push, and that sounds super nitpicky, like I have to move my hand in a certain way to push this in. And a lot of people are going to be like, dude, you know, come on, buck up and just adjust and do it. Fair enough. I don't like these crazy aggressive glass breakers. And I would imagine there's a way to just pull it off. It probably unscrews and then you pull the pocket clip off and you can probably put something else in there. But I wish that Microtech would either offer these without the glass breakers at all, or offer an additional screw that came with the knife that you could take the glass breaker off and just put the screw into the pocket clip. Now, I'm not one to sit and tell Microtech how to do their business. Microtech has been plenty successful and does not need to listen to just some dude on YouTube like myself. I'm a big fan of Tony Marfione, and I like what his kids are doing with Heretic knives, and I am 100% aware that they make some of the most quality folding knives on the planet. And I have bought Microtech knives, and I will continue to buy Microtech knives because I think they are A class. They are prestige. You know, they're excellent in terms of fit and finish, function, design, etc. Big fan of Microtech. I just don't like those glass breakers. Ugh, I just don't like them. This is a great knife. It's very convenient. It's very utilitarian. It functions incredibly well. It functions reliably. You can get this, use it, and not worry about it. Just don't beat on it. This isn't a sledgehammer. These are designed to get out, make quick cuts, and move on. I would imagine they are of substantial enough build quality to handle reasonably mild hard use. I mean, oftentimes these are suggested for first responders, you know, police, military, things like that. So they do have to live up to a standard of some hard use. Obviously, if you're going to pound on it, you're better off with a fixed blade or a hammer or a jackhammer. You know, I mean, you're not going to be prying open any car doors with something like this. How many knife cliches can I add in one video? But you know what I mean. I mean, this is a smaller EDC knife that's meant for convenience, and I think it should be looked at as such. But excellent choice for EDC if you can keep from scaring anybody. So the new ones, like I said, they run about $350. You can find them anywhere. Really great knife. Really like this knife. David, again, thank you so much for letting me show this and play with it. I've actually had a lot of fun playing with this, and it does actually carry conveniently. Let me go ahead and put this in my pocket so that I can demonstrate, get my palm around that and don't poke myself. Other than that glass breaker, I actually really like how that carries. The clip looks nice. It does advertise that it is a Microtech on your pocket. So if you want to show it off a little bit, then you might enjoy that. If you don't like that, then sorry, but you can see what I see here. This thing it hangs out, and you might catch your hand on it or accidentally touch it every now and then. I don't know. I tend to fidget with my knife while I'm standing around without even thinking about it, and I find myself continuously catching my thumb on that. So, but really, that's really my only complaint. So I'll retract my original statement. These OTF knives, or good ones, not just anything. If you're going to buy an OTF and you've got less than $50 to spend, go with the Lightning. But if you're going to buy an OTF and you want a nice one, go with a Microtech. There's a lot of other stuff out there, but honestly, go with a Microtech. But these are beyond novelty. They do have their functional purpose, and I think they are a pretty good choice. Just be aware of who you're going to be around and what you're going to be using it for. But anyways, that is pretty much it for the video today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And if you liked the video, then please do leave a like. And if you'd like to check out my other content, then please take a look. I've got lots of videos of knives that I either do or don't like, that are expensive or inexpensive. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.